Now we turn to our special report, our legal breakdown in this big new criminal case against Trump ally Steve Bannon. He got some very clearly bad legal news today while he remains defiant in public. I'm going to run through all of it with you right now. It starts with a hearing that is all about these two criminal counts he's facing over defying Congress in the investigation into the January 6th insurrection. Now, today there were proceedings that were not exactly the wild scene from Monday when Bannon was live streaming his arrival at an FBI field office and there were people all around. This was a virtual hearing, a status conference of sorts, a day after Bannon submitted formally a not guilty plea in writing. You can see the second time here, because he's been a defendant before, Stephen K. Bannon, the signature right there, not guilty. So that legal process continues. And then you have the news we're going to get into right now. The legal process is quite different in substance, as well as some of what we're hearing in the tone and the vibes, than the bravado that Bannon continues to exude outside of court in public. So even today, amidst these mounting and serious legal troubles that could land him in jail, Bannon invited a fellow elite MAGA warrior onto his internet show. This is Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows. We'll put this up full on the screen, and basically what you have here is Meadows on War Room. That's Bannon's show. And he's right now, what you're seeing, this is important. He's talking to Steve Bannon here with the background, making media, while he is one of two wanted men in this legal investigation. One man indicted, that's Bannon. The other, Meadows, trying to walk a line to not end up in Bannon's shoes. They both know it. Their lawyers know it. And yet they carried on in this effort to avoid that topic, instead dreaming about Trump becoming House Speaker.
I would love to see the gavel go from Nancy Pelosi to Donald Trump. You're talking about melting down. People would go crazy.
That's Meadows on the War Room. And they are just talking up, boy, what if the Republicans win back the House and use the powers there to name Trump Speaker, which, by the way, is constitutionally allowed. You don't have to be a sitting member of Congress. What they avoided largely was why they're both in legal hot water. Bannon's also continued to lean into his familiar talking points, and the MAGA faithful are echoing them.
They're in the absolute free fall. We're going to run the House with 40, 50, 60 seats. I say 100 seats if we get focused. The death rattle of this Marxist regime, this illegitimate regime.
We only need 5 more seats to be in the majority. Then we have the subpoena power to bring these individuals in. We have the ability to stop what President Biden is doing. We have the ability to fire Nancy Pelosi.
That is the House leader for Republicans, McCarthy, sounding a lot like Bannon, who sounds like Trump. And so you see the strings that are being pulled. You see that Bannon is not just one more media figure in the right-wing echo chamber. He is actually saying and doing things in concert with the former president, who he's trying to protect, that may affect the way the House or other things are governed. Now, Bannon also took some shots at the press, and I can tell you as a journalist, I've spoken to Mr. Bannon repeatedly, and once at length in an MSNBC interview. Bannon is keenly aware of the power of the press, which is why he tracks it, participates in it, and then tries to make his own alternative media. Now, on his War Room internet show in these days since the indictment, he actually played some of our recent coverage right here on The Beat about his legal woes, trying to claim that it's all some sort of noisy media meltdown. He will be judged through a system that is not overseen by the president he helped elect.
That is all MSNBC noise. We're going to give you signal, all of this complete meltdown of the mainstream media.
I don't know. First of all, I don't feel like I'm melting down, and I certainly don't feel like I'm worried about the court process. But there is something striking there, which is Steve Bannon is trying to play this outside game, and he's quoting and criticizing the press, and he's making his own media, and he was even plugging the War Room on his way into court. So that's what's happening in the media universe of an echo chamber, that, again, he is a skilled communicator. He may have some larger purpose outside court. But I got to tell you, there are much higher stakes for Mr. Bannon and anyone else who defies subpoenas than headlines back in court, back in the criminal case. Politico reporting on those proceedings today, noting the judge rejected Bannon's effort to slow walk this contempt case. Bannon's lawyer was arguing it could take a while for Bannon to be ready to present a defense because it has complex constitutional issues. And they asked the judge to basically delay the next hearing all the way out until next year. And they lost. Now, why am I showing you this? Because you can see the contrast. This is a far cry from Bannon's public bravado about smash mouth politics and turning the tables, and he's so confident. Well, it doesn't really fit with the legal strategy where he's basically using his lawyers to beg for more time, and they're not getting it. How complex is the case? The judge will show it to you, denying the delay request, setting the next hearing for the first week of December, and reportedly feeling unimpressed with a whole other part of Bannon's defense right now. Now, Bannon's legal team has also been pressed on what they are holding back, what they're essentially hiding from the January 6th probe. Now, we mentioned this before. I just want to give the context. Donald Trump was only basically talking to certain people at certain times and thus only requested that Bannon not disclose privileged information. Bannon's lawyer, though, went way farther than that, saying to the committee, to the investigation, they won't produce documents or testifying about anything at all. That means they don't even have an arguable defense for a lot of the material demanded under this subpoena. This may sound like we're getting into the weeds, but it's actually important. What it means is that even if there were arguable or debatable issues about, say, what Bannon said to Trump while Trump were president, he didn't confine his defiance to those arguable issues. He just said no outright, which makes his case weaker. It basically puts a giant hole in his case, and Bannon's own lawyer just did an interview where they kind of admit that.
There are certainly conversations. If you're talking about conversations outside of the executive branch, then clearly those are not covered by executive privilege.
They're not covered by executive privilege. If Bannon's own team's admitting these holes in public, if that's their defense, well, just wait until the prosecution gets a hold of this and gives their version of their case. Is one of Donald Trump's ultimate architects and loyal allies headed to jail to hide things from January 6th? What does that tell us about why they want to hide it? And does this accountability process matter?